In this video, I will spend time discussing several different case studies that deal with the topic of diversification. I will first critique the decision of the State of Nevada Supreme Court in the 1997 case of the University and Community College System of Nevada versus Farmer. Secondly, I will discuss the practices of the Watchmark Continental Corporation in their outsourcing of the entire workforce to the Indian labor market. Thirdly, I will discuss why I believe it is easier for an employee in Canada to comply with diversity legislation than it is for an employee in the United States. Lastly, I will take a critical look at the diversification in media as I analyze three specific magazines and their marketing and advertising methods. In the case of the University and Community College System of Nevada versus Farmer, I disagree with the decision by the State of Nevada Supreme Court. In my opinion, I would disagree with them on the grounds of a deontological approach. I'm not a strong supporter of affirmative actions policies because I feel like most of them end up discriminating against those in the majority group. I think discrimination against anyone in any way or form is wrong. It compromises the integrity of the organization, which will eventually result in a lower standard for that organization. I believe that people should be recognized on their qualifications and experience, and the person best suited for the job should be hired. When you look only at color, you're discriminating because they failed to look at the fact that Farmer was a woman and they could be accused of discriminating against a woman. I do not agree with the minority bonus program is the most effective way to accomplish the goal of diversification. When you hire someone on the basis of their color rather than qualifications, you can end up hiring a person that is not ultimately qualified for the job and will not perform well on the job. Instead, the organization needs to reach longer for a properly qualified person of color or train someone to prepare them for the job. I believe that it is better to do what is right for everyone, and I believe that means not giving people special treatment based on their race, sex, or other diversity factors. It also seems to me that the university was simply hiring the black man so that they could meet a requirement that then allowed them to hire another additional faculty member. It sounds like to me that this additional faculty member would be a non-diversity faculty member. This also compromises the integrity of the entire process. This does not seem fair to me, and I think it sets a poor example of ultimately ends up in discriminating against a perfectly qualified individual who could have been hired. The decision of the Watchmark Continental Corporation to outsource the entire workforce to India has significant ethical ramifications. I will discuss this decision from both a deontological and teleological perspective. With their decision to outsource, this company told their existing employees that if they wanted to receive several severance and retirement packages, they would have to agree to train the new Indian employees. From a deontological perspective, I would say that this company did not do the right thing. The classical phrase, do not do unto others as you would have them do unto you, explains the deontological approach. If this is the measure by which the company should make their decision, then it is clear to me that they did not fulfill this requirement. They should have released their workers with their severance and retirement packages without the requirement of training the new workers. I would think that this would have been very embarrassing for the existing employees, and it seems that the company was using coercion to get them to do what they wanted. The existing employees who were required to train the new Indian employees would probably not be doing their best work in the situation. They are also already considering how they can go find another job, and this would be a distraction to them while training the new Indian employees. In addition, the Indian employees would see how the company treated their existing employees, and they may think that they could be treated the same way in the future. This creates insecurity and distrust. From a theological approach, you could say the company did the right thing. They had the end goal in view, and the means by which they accomplished that goal were not so important. That is usually the case with big businesses. They wanted to cut costs and be more efficient, and they did whatever was necessary to make that happen. From their perspective, the company could do whatever they wanted to do it because all they were concerned was with their bottom line. So, from a theological perspective, they did what they felt was the right thing. Diversity legislation in Canada is much different than it is in the United States. Because of these differences, I believe it would be easier as an employee in Canada to comply with diversity legislation than an employee in the United States. The main reason for this is Canada has four protected groups that are recognized in the diversity legislation. These four groups are women, Aboriginal people, people with disabilities, and visible minorities. Employees in Canada can be more easily complied with diversity legislation because it is easier for them to target these four recognized groups in their hiring practices. With these types of options available, employees in Canada can move quickly comply with diversity requirements. It is easier to find qualified people within one of these groups to hire. In the United States, the main emphasis in diversity legislation has been connected to civil rights legislation. This legislation is almost exclusively targeted to blacks. Some employees in the United States do not have as many options available when it comes to meeting diversification requirements. If the United States does not develop a broader diversification legislation, then they will have to become much more creative at training and developing the black labor market so that they can become a more qualified workplace. Because of all these factors, I would say it is easier to comply with diversification legislation in Canada than in the United States. In this final part of this presentation, I will discuss my evaluation of 3 different magazines listed in the exercises for media. For the purpose of this exercise, I chose the magazine Shape, Brides, and Jet. Each of these magazines has a specific target market or a reader that they are appealing to. Shape targets their message to predominantly females at the age range of 20 to 30. Most of all the women pictured in the magazines are in this age range. There is some diversity to race, but the majority of the pictures are of white females. There are a few pictures of minority groups such as Black and Hispanic. Other discrimination that is not often recognized or mentioned in the discrimination of overweight people, especially women. Many times women are promoted as needing to be a certain size, shape, or weight to be considered attractive or appealing. This is obviously what Shape is promoting in the name of their magazine, as well as all the articles and photographs of the models. The target market for brides is mainly white, female in the age range between 20 and 30. Almost all the pictures in this magazine are exclusively of these women. Also, the target market is wealthy people with expensive taste. This includes a large portion of the population that has a lower annual income. Jet magazine is targeted towards male and female blacks in the age of 20 to 30. The vast majority of pictures in this magazine are of people from this profile. It also includes articles with attitudes that could promote a certain pride or intellectualism in being a black person and might sometimes possibly influence resentment towards people in other races. Shape communicates a very stereotypical message of women working to obtain the perfect body by eating healthy and exercising. The value is health and a proper appearance for women. This picture in this magazine are all of very fit and beautiful women. The articles are all about various eating plans and exercise plans that can lead to the best looking body possible. Because of the specific emphasis on shape, overweight or underweight women may compare themselves and feel less attractive or not good enough. Brides are all about beautiful brides. This magazine communicates the most popular trends in style for bridal dresses and everything pertaining to the wedding event. It communicates to a very small sector of upwardly mobile, wealthy white women. It can give a message that influences people to spend more on their wedding than they can actually afford financially. Jet magazine communicates almost exclusively to the black male and female. They present the image in a very equally cultural style. It depicts black people with a very culturally agenda and attitude. Because it doesn't include much diversity, it might communicate separatism. And all of these magazines and advertisement targets the same group that is targeted in the articles and pictures of the magazines. There is very little change between the core target of the magazine and of that the advertisements in the magazine. The advertisements in each magazine seem to be promoting the same values and culture norms of those communicated by the magazine and its target market. So the advertising in shape is for workout clothes and exercising people. It makes people think that if they were to wear proper clothing, they will achieve the right look and shape. The advertising in brides include everything to do with weddings. The advertising in Jet includes hair products for black hair, trendy clothes, and expensive products that promotes a high lifestyle.